in nice and cozy, somebody start banging on the door saying they couldn't wait. My wrist hurts from flushing so much. But our plan worked, Abby piped up eagerly. Did you hear the helicopter fly over? That was the Coast Guard. We saw him taking video of the stain in the water. No kidding? Shelley looked pleased. She stood up, spinning the rake like a cheerleader's baton. Did Dusty say anything about the casino after the casino closed? I asked. Nah, he was a total basket case. There was some big fight on the docks, and Luno got his butt seriously whipped, is what I heard. One of the bouncers drove him to the hospital, and then the cop showed up, asking what happened, but by then, Dusty'd already split. The crew didn't know any different, so they waited until all the people were gone and pumped the holding tank straight into the basin, same as usual. I told Shelley she'd done her great job. Thanks for emptying that liquor crate so I had a place to hide, and for sneaking me in to the lady's head, and most of all for risking your neck to help us out. Yeah, you did awesome, Abby said. But what about Dusty's secret spy at the Coast Guard station? How'd you fix it so he wasn't around the morning when Noah called in about the Coral Queen? Shelley propped the rake up on one shoulder like a rifle. Come on in, she said. But like I said, it's not a pretty picture. She wasn't kidding. Inside the trailer, it looked like a small bomb had exploded. Broken lamps, overturned furniture, dents and holes in the fake wood paneling. Two rumpled men lay face down, one on the gross shag carpet, one on the gross moldy sofa. We couldn't see their faces, so it was hard to tell if they were dead or alive. The one on the floor was sopping wet and striped green with slime from the aquarium, which lay on its side, empty and cracked. Shelley used the rake handle to poke at the unconscious man on the sofa. You asked about Mr. Billy Babcock? Well, here he is. Billy Babcock made a low, snuffling sound, but he didn't move. What'd you do to him? Nothing. Nothing he didn't want done, Shelley replied with a snort. He spent about 2 hours yakking at my bar last night. I figured the only way to guarantee that he wouldn't be at work this morning was to bring him home with me, and we get the idea. I cut in, not wanting Abby to hear the R-rated details. That's cool, Noah. Watching out for your little sister, Shelley said, but don't worry, I was a perfect lady. I invited Billy over for one of my high-octane cocktails, maybe two. All we did was hold hands on the couch until he got tired of telling me how gorgeous and wonderful I was. Then he keeled over and went night-to-night. So who's the other guy? I pointed at the soggy heap on the floor. You don't recognize him? Shelley chuckled again. Using the business end of the rake, she snagged the man's ooze-covered shirt and rolled him onto his back. When I saw that pasty, sunken face, I was completely blown away. Well, who is it? My sister asked impatiently. That's Lice Peking, I said. In person. Shelley unhooked the rake from his shirt. I told you, love's a strange deal. Is he alive? Abby asked. More or less, Shelley replied. You guys want a Coke? We sat at the dinette and listened to her story. It was a good one. After my father had gone to jail and started spouting off about the Coral Queen, Dusty Muleman had gotten nervous. He'd made a list of everyone besides Dad who knew the truth about the pollution scam, and he had sent Luno to try to warn each person to keep quiet. The goon hadn't murdered Lice Peking, as Shelley had thought, but he had scared the bodily fluids out of him. When Luno had shown up at the trailer, Lice naturally assumed that Dusty had found out about the secret deal with Dad, the bonefish skiff, in exchange for Lice's testimony. So as soon as Luno left, Lice swiped Shelley's Jeep and drove full speed for the mainland. True to form, he forgot to fill the gas tank. When it was empty, he simply parked the truck and took off on foot. But what about the bloodstains on the seats? I asked. Shelley shook her head sheepishly. Catch up. The slob was pigging out on Big Macs and fries for 40 miles. Abby said, why'd he come back? Did he run out of money or something? You're a very sharp young lady. Yeah, he ran out of money, but that's not why he came back to the Keys. See, he missed me. Deep down in his heart, he truly did. I cringed when my sister asked, how can you possibly believe that? Because the man knew for a fact what would happen if I ever laid eyes on him again. He knew I'd whoop him like the sorry, no good donkey he is, yet he came back anyway. If that ain't true love, ain't close enough for me. It's close enough for me, said Shelley. The timing of Lice Peaking's return couldn't have been worse. It was past 3 in the morning when he'd flung open the door, only to find his cherished Shelley reading an astrology magazine on the couch with a snoozing Billy Babcock stretched out beside her. In a jealous fit, Lice Peaking had jumped on Billy, kicking and punching and scratching. That was when Shelley had to run to the tool shed. Being whacked with a rake seemed to work miracles on Lice Peaking's attitude. He dropped to one knee, told Shelley he adored her, and blubbered he was sorry for all the rotten deeds he'd ever done. Even promised to pay back the $186 he took, plus the towing charges for the Jeep. Shelley said, "I'll never see a nickel for sure, but still it was a nice sentiment. I told Lice to quit begging and get off the floor, and that's when the fool grabbed the aquarium to stand up himself. Whole tank tipped over on top of him, all 50 gallons, and off to dreamland he went." It wouldn't have been a huge shock to learn that Shelley had purposely dumped the grungy aquarium on Lice Peaking's head, but I took her word that it was an accident. Anything was possible. "What about the fish?" Abby asked. "There was only one left, the loneliest, most pitiful guppy you ever saw. I put him in the bathtub," Shelley said. "And him?" I nodded toward Billy Babcock. "Slept all through the fun, believe it or not." Shelley nudged him again with the rake handle. "Once he wakes up, I'll clue him in on what happened. Otherwise, he'll be curious about all those fresh bruises and fingernail marks." I went over to take a closer look at Lice Peaking. The toppling aquarium had left a plum-sized knot on his forehead. His t-shirt showed several rows of small bloody holes where Shelley's rake had dug in, but he seemed to be feeling no pain. He snored peacefully, blowing snot bubbles from his